Hello, and thank you for joining me for a very special interview with Steve Barnett, the Executive Director, Business Development, Abu Dhabi Global Markets. It's a pleasure to speak to you today, Steve.
Great to speak to you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, Steve, what has been the impact of COVID-19 in the UAE and specifically at Abu Dhabi Global Markets?
I think it's been a change for all of us in terms of the way we work. Everything that we were doing physically has become digital, and I think we've all adapted to that extremely quickly. In terms of the market environment, it's been quite challenging as well. As ADGM, what we've tried to do is to engage as much as we can with people that do business here and to get their feedback on how we can help them and to stay as close to them as possible. I think for all of us at this time, when business is good, you need to stay close to your clients, and when business is more challenging, you need to be even closer to them. And we've recognized that. So as a result of some of those consultations, what we've ended up doing is providing as much support as we can. So we've done 50% reduction in our fees on new companies and limited liability partnerships. We've done 100% waiver of our commercial license renewals and 100% waiver on all of our funds fees. For those that had already paid them for 2020, we've refunded those as well. And even a 50% reduction in the supervision fees. Now, that isn't going to change whether people are successful or not, but it does go some way to helping them through the difficult time. We've also given some flexibility around some of our administrative reporting requirements as well, because we know that people are focusing on their markets, and they should be focusing on their markets. Overall, though, we've seen firms do reasonably well through this time. A lot of our firms have long-term investors that are in it with them for the full journey. And after a short blip, many of them that are investing in assets across this region have actually done pretty well and returned good outcomes for their clients. So, yeah, it's difficult. It's different. We've all learned a new way of doing business. We're doing this interview this way instead of face-to-face as we would have done in previous years. And for those that are generating new business, like us, it's a little bit harder. But we'll work through it. And so overall, I think we've come through this pretty strongly. And we shouldn't trivialize it in any way. But there's still business out there to be done, and we're certainly doing it, and hope that others are too. From the fund side of things, we grew around 30% in half one of 2020. That was absolutely against all expectations. We expected to be reasonably flat with the way that the environment was working out, but it's been much more positive than that.
And moving on to another current topic at the moment, ESG. Can you speak to us about the expansion of ESG as part of your agenda?
I can. We've seen ESG as being an important thing for all financial centres and for managers over quite a long time now. And I spoke at FundForum last year on the sustainable finance agenda. It's no coincidence either. I mean, we at ADGM have driven sustainable finance for this region. Started off with the Abu Dhabi Declaration in 2019 on sustainable finance, and that was expanded this year at the Sustainable Finance Forum that we run here. And part of that was to bring out sustainable finance principles which can be applied across this region, working with all the other regulators here as well to make sure that we're as consistent as we can be. And real practical things as well, like the development of a green bond accelerator here. We've seen the first social development bonds here. We work closely with the UN Renewable Energy Agency, IRENA, around their green program as well. And even taking out as far as the ADGM Academy putting in place a sustainable finance certificate so that we can grow greater awareness, which I think is really important for the future of this marketplace. So that's quite a lot that's been done here in sustainable, and we see a big uptake on that as well. A lot of transactions being done right the way from issuance of bonds and green funds through into green transaction banking as well. So it's quite extensive. We've also done a lot of stuff in terms of driving inclusion as well, and we have a gender inclusion initiative that we run, which has proved very successful. In fact, we do quite well in this region. People may not recognise how well we do in terms of senior representation across the institutions, and just a few examples off the top of my head. see the head of Lazard's in this region is a lady, the head of the Middle East Venture Capital Association is a lady, head of Citibank in the region is a lady, the deputy CEO of First Abu Dhabi Bank is a lady, and so on and so forth. This is something that we're very passionate about, and we're doing a lot to continue to drive. It's not about getting women into finance and into the industry. I don't think it's about making sure that we facilitate that access through to the most senior levels. Something we take as a real commitment that we have to continue to drive.
And I believe that you're also increasing your focus on special situations. Can you also speak a little bit about this?
I think special situations is less of a focus and more a recognition of what's happening in the marketplace. You know, we're seeing more and more special situations business out there. We're seeing non-performing loans. We're seeing some challenges around the recovery of collateral. But you know, for some sectors of the market, that's a real challenge. For others, it's a real opportunity. And we see the region really having quite a large allocation to special situations. The yield is there if you manage that tightly and effectively. And it's not just portfolios that exist in the UAE or in the GCC. It's also pan-MEASA special situations opportunities. And so it's everything from our sovereign wealth funds through to family offices that we see investing in special sits. And we see some very, very strong teams emerging in that space. So less of a focus for us and more of a recognition that this is going to be a reality for some time now, and finding ways that we can help people to access the opportunities that are there.
Innovation and digital are also at the core of modern investment management. So what's ADGM's role in those areas as well?
Now, since we first started ADGM, we've taken a very serious role in fintech and the development around fintech. We were the first in this region to develop a regulatory sandbox for fintech, and by some measures, it's become one of the busiest fintech regulatory sandboxes in the world. And we've seen a lot of investment solutions coming through that. Blockchain-enabled capabilities, artificial intelligence, robo-advice, the full suite of different things that we see across the industry. And we embrace those. We're very much technology agnostic or technology inclusive, if you prefer. So we're not phased at all by the technologies that people use to do the things that they need to do in the industry. And we're very open to embracing things that come to marketplace for the first time. As an extension of that, we're now bringing to market the first digital sandbox, where you'll have the ability for innovators and established institutions and regulators to come together and test new solutions that are coming to market and how those can be deployed as part of an overall strategy for an existing firm. And that really is quite interesting for us. We've also done a huge amount in terms of the crypto space as well. We've recognized that this is with us to stay, that we should be looking at crypto assets as in the same way that we look at other sorts of assets. So we were the first regulator to in place a comprehensive regime to regulate digital asset exchanges. And that requires full end-to-end transparency of the transactions, proper surveillance, proper custody, good client suitability tests. It requires good systems, controls, and capability. Essentially, we treat digital assets the same way that we would treat any other type of asset, and the exchanges that support them the same way we treat other sorts of exchanges. So it sort of reinforces what I'm saying about the fact that we're technology agnostic or technology inclusive. It extends right the way into new asset classes. And we've seen great uptick in that. And bringing new exchanges into the market to deal with those sorts of assets, also that encourages them to think about their coverage too, and grows the availability of assets for people to invest in this region, which I think is important for growth of the industry.
You've mentioned it a little bit already, but Abu Dhabi is experiencing an exciting time of growth as a regional hub. So could you speak a bit about that and what the future holds as well?
Yeah, thank you. It's been a very exciting time. We're now a little over 5 years old and really from a startup to being an established player in this marketplace. Abu Dhabi itself is logistically well placed. It's well placed in terms of time zones. It's well placed in terms of the markets that it serves. And we'll talk at this conference about Miasa and our role as part of that Middle East, Asia into Africa channel. You know, we have strong trade links and strong investment links into the continent of Africa, with Abu Dhabi as the second largest FDI investor in the continent of Africa after the Chinese. And we work very closely with the Chinese to exploit that as well. And so, you know, we're working very closely with our proximate markets, with India, with the GCC region, with South Asia along the Chinese Belt and Road, with the Chinese into Africa as well. And in many ways, we've helped to fill some of that gap between Singapore and Western Europe, both in terms of time zone and also in terms of investable assets. And so for me, it's a really exciting time. We're seeing a lot of innovation here and a lot of opportunity. And also with, and very topical with the Abraham Accord that you'll have seen being announced with the refreshing of relationships with Israel. We're seeing a huge amount of linkage both into Israel and also with surprising places. So a lot of US interest coming into this region as a result of that accord and the opportunities that throws up. So it's not just a south-south corridor hub. We're also now able to play a much deeper role, I think, as an investment hub for North American interests into this region.
Definitely a very exciting future ahead. So thank you very much for joining us today, Steve, and speaking to me about these topics. Thank you very much, and have a good day.
Thank you, Tom, and I look forward to the event itself.